Welcome back to the Visually Hidden Selects podcast, episode 53. This month's selection is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington from 1939, the golden year of the golden age of cinema. Wowzers. And yes, of course, directed by Frank Capra. Who else could possibly have directed this particular film? Starring James Stewart and Jean Arthur back again together, as they should be. And then just, oh man, the supporting cast. Everybody. If you haven't seen it, check out the VHS, watch the movie. It's amazing. I saw this movie a while ago. I must have seen this movie 20-something years ago. I was a young man when I first got, I had heard about Frank Capra, growing up and studying film, and you hear other filmmakers, you talk about other filmmakers, Steven Spielberg. He would talk about Frank Capra and his films, and so it's like, oh, Frank Capra, I should find out about this Frank Capra guy. So you go to the video store and you find the shelf with all of the movies, and the titles pop out at you. And this one in particular, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I was also a little bit familiar because The Simpsons had done a parody with Mel Gibson, where Mel Gibson remakes Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and it's supposed to be, this dramatic follow-up to Braveheart and da-da-da-da-da, and then Homer gets involved and it turns into a Lethal Weapon bloodbath at the end. And it's quite comical, but nevertheless, I was aware of this movie going into it, but I was not prepared for it going into it, because it is pretty spectacular in a number of different ways, in my opinion. Like I said in the video, it has comedy, it has heart, but it also has drama, and it has a really, really poignant message that I feel just is timeless, and it just resonates and will continue to resonate, for better or worse, in our lifetime and plane of existence, but yeah, that's kind of how I found it, was through just word of mouth, through filmmaking and through filmmakers. And yeah, it very rapidly, kind of like The Day the Earth Stood Still, it just shot up on my list of favorites. And I will talk to anybody about this movie. I will sit down and watch it with anyone. I have an extra copy on DVD just in case somebody wants to borrow it, and I don't want to lend my copy out, even though I have two more, I got a loaner of this movie. If anybody needs it, I got it.
Good to know.
For me, this film, it's funny because I never heard of it. I told you I never heard of this title, never heard of it at all. And I was a bit surprised about that, because we know Frank Capra. I mean, we heard of Frank Capra, but even cinema lovers, they never heard of this film here. So, but then I have two theories about that. The first one, I guess it's because the topics, even if it's still relevant nowadays, it's through the American eyes, and it's your political system, your political approach. Because I don't know if you would agree with me on that, but I feel that the US, you have more faith in your institutions that we do have in the Western Europe. We don't really believe that politics can help us, especially France and Italy. I don't know if you heard about what happened in our countries through the history. I mean, the French Revolution, but not just the French Revolution, what happened in 1968. I don't know if you heard about that. We had an insurrection, and anyway, it's always been complicated in Italy and in France. So maybe that's also the fact that we don't approach things the same way. And my second theory, which is probably the best one, the fact that it came out in 1939. And we were a bit busy at that time in Europe, so maybe that's why. But it's really surprising that we didn't give a second chance. To this film, because even if it came out in 1939, we could have visited later. You know what I'm saying? So
well, you saw on the VHS episode, this was the last film to play in Paris, in France.
Yeah, but yeah, I never.
Before
I told you, I
the
never.
occupation.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. yeah. But yeah, it's surprising that it, because it really deserves to be known. And as you said, it's a touching story that's still relevant today. I To be honest with you, it was a bit difficult at the beginning for me to get into the story, but really everything changed when Sanders and Jeff meet. I think
Uh-huh.
there is a new dynamic from that moment. Even at the beginning, it really goes fast. Interesting in a very old film to see that kind of dynamic when you have the scenes. I don't know how to say that, but they're going very fast at the beginning. I'm sure you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
they transition very, very quickly
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
smoothly.
yeah. And surprisingly enough, I don't really like black and white movies, but for this film, I think it serves the story because um, the attention to details that you have when you watch a black and white, because when it's in color, maybe your eyes get distracted by stupid stuff like the
Mm-hmm.
color of his shirt or whatever. And the fact that you have a black and white film, I felt that the camera angles, when they shot the eyes, you see what they're looking at or the way they look to each other. I think it shows more in this film than you could have seen in a colored movie. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but yeah, I think this film is really something that everybody should watch when they like cinema. Definitely.
See, you keep saying I don't like black and white movies, and you mean to
I was sure
say
you're gonna say that.
I used to not like black and white
Yeah,
movies.
yeah, yeah.
I
Thanks to
think,
you, you changed my mind.
well, that's what I'm here for, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to disagree with what you said. I'm not going to 100% agree either, but yeah, I mean, I think with regard to our country's different outlooks on our political systems, I feel like in America we have an idealist approach. Like we want to believe we've got the Constitution and we've got all this history and we've got all this, but I feel like the media really kind of, and as it does in this movie too, it does everything it can to just derail shit and twist shit and hurt it. I feel like that's a big standing issue that this film openly addresses, and it should. I love how it just shines a light on it, on Taylor's political machine at the end with the propaganda against Jefferson Smith. But even before it gets to that point, when he first arrives in Washington and the press are like having fun with him, taking the silly pictures and stuff and taking it out of context, and then he goes around and punches everybody out.
I like that
And
part.
one of the greatest montages ever conceived. Yeah, I feel like there's that idea, but then there's also, our government's approach to control, I think, is a little bit different than other countries as well. I remember a few years ago, there was a country, I don't remember which one it was, but people were pissed at the leader and they marched into their like Capitol building. They dragged him out of his office and threw him in a dumpster. You try to
Mm,
do that in America and you get mowed down.
yeah.
So I think therein lies the difference.
Can't argue that point. So this is the first time I ever saw this movie. It's,
Hmm.
it's on the never-ending list of things I want to, watch. Uh, but when I got to be honest, when I was a kid, or a younger guy, anything political did not interest me in the least. So that's
Mm.
one of the main reasons why I never watched this film, even though I had heard really good things about it and still do. And I watched it obviously for the podcast. And I thought it was great. You know, I also thought it was very pitiful that we're still there,
Oh,
only
yeah.
worse, um, as a society. At least in our country, that and it happens in other countries too. But yeah, I've said for decades that the media is a big problem.
Yeah, you would
Um,
think after 85 years we would get our act together, but
Come on. But yeah, that's like as I was sitting here watching it, I went through a wave of emotions, and then just midway, I'm like, man, this is pitiful. That's the best word I could think to describe the feeling I had when I realized that not much has changed in 85 years. Like, pitiful.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, Jimmy Stewart, how do you not like him? You can't.
Mm.
Like, he's just such a likable guy. And
And good looking.
yeah, he's a good-looking guy. Um, but what a great, I mean, I think if you cast anybody else in that role, I don't know that you have the same entry point to the
No.
story. He lends himself to this thing of earnestness and warmth and what's the best word I could think of? It's
Optimism?
optimism, but he has a very honest quality about him. And I think you need all those things to play a convincing Jefferson Smith, which he completely did. But you just feel there's a realism there.
Mhm.
So I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I had seen like clips of it, when you watch documentaries about other films or things that inspired people. You see clips of this movie,
Yeah.
so some of the imagery wasn't completely foreign to me, but just right out of the gate, one of the first when he finally sees the Capitol and he sees the Lincoln Memorial, he's going through like the happiest tourist you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, man, they don't make movies like this anymore. And his enthusiasm is infectious. It
Mhm.
makes you think, oh well, I live on the East Coast. I could go see the Liberty Bell, or I could go, down to the city and see Statue of Liberty again. And like, we take it for granted sometimes. Like, here's a guy who just hits the streets. He's just like a kid in a candy shop. And that attitude and that energy from Jimmy Stewart is very infectious. But
Mhm.
it felt honest. I felt like he was really feeling those things, and that opens up the gateway for the story that's about to be told, and the journey you're going to go on, and how inevitably root for him, because how could you not? Someone
Yeah.
who's so honest. Even when when the kid brings in the briefcase, he's got the little tear in his
Uh-huh.
eye. It's like, oh man, right from the beginning, man. We're like 20 minutes in here, guy, and he's already got the waterworks going. Um, but yeah, it's such a. I think, like I said, any other guy, any other actor, I don't know that you'd have the same entry point or the same level of feeling towards the character, and I think that makes all the difference, especially in this case.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because this film actually started out as a sequel to another Frank Capra movie called Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, which you may know better as a remake starring Adam Sandler.
Mhm.
But the original Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and then this was supposed to be Mr. Deeds Goes to Washington, and then they couldn't get Gary Cooper, the actor who played Mr. Deeds, to be available. So then they rewrote it and repurposed it and made it its own thing with Mr. Smith, and they cast Jimmy Stewart. And I think you know and nothing against Gary Cooper, he's got his own tools that work for him, but in this movie it had to be James Stewart, 100%. Like and just and his chemistry with Gene Arthur
Mhm.
is like, it's like the prototype for cinematic romantic connections and like ships in the night and all that stuff, opposites attract and everything. It's like it's all right here, and it's like wrapped up in this political, it's not even a satire, because it's so fucking real.
Yeah.
It's not poking fun at it by any means, especially when the fucking gangsters run the kids off the road.
More of a cautionary tale,
Like,
if
yeah.
anything else. But I'm glad I watched this I watched the movie finally. I'm glad I had a reason to buckle down and, okay, today's the day. We're gonna watch this thing.
Mhm.
And it makes you feel. I felt like, you had said before, it should be mandatory viewing, I think, in the VHS. I think
Yeah.
it should be mandatory viewing just for lack of patriotism in this country. I think we've lost
Uh-huh.
that, like, we're being proud to be here. Are we perfect? No, but hey, no one is. And I think we've lost that spark of, yeah, we're not perfect, but we're pretty good. And, we could be better if everyone just took a little time to care. If everyone cared a
Mhm.
little bit like Jefferson Smith did about, any number of issues, I think we'd be better off for it.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing with regard to our country is, we're so wrapped up with the political parties, but again, it's a big part of it is the media, and it just it rents space in people's heads, and then like it's constantly bombarding you in social media and in the news and in newspapers everywhere you look, everywhere you turn around, there's a new issue, and people are making the worst out of every situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're making you feel like you got to choose a side, and it's like, you don't have to choose a side. You need more information.
Yeah.
You need better sources, or you need sources. How about that for an idea?
Yeah.
Like just reading headlines and jumping to conclusions isn't going to get you anywhere except in a fight, and this movie touches upon that as well.
The frustration you feel, when the propaganda machine is really coming down on him and trying to crush him, and just
Uh-huh.
how Claude Rains is unwavering in his douchebaggery towards the end.
When he throws down on him and throws him under the fucking bus,
Mm-hmm.
and then backs up over him and runs over again and again and again, and then drags him onto the train tracks there, in the inquiry where they're having
Mm-hmm.
the little like trial to get to the bottom of it, and he has people from the state coming in saying like, yeah, we set it all up,
Yeah.
like what, but then when it gets to the end and Jeff is still standing, and like he's trying to like blow his brains out in the hallway.
Yeah.
Like, and he comes clean, and he's just like, how does that not affect you? How does that not like reinvigorate your outlook in the world, and like your outlook in humanity, and like, the ability of people to, like, whether they do good or bad, to ultimately do right,
Yeah.
like every time I watch it, I get a little teary eyed when he's like saying, hey, he's the boy, I should be in prison, arrest me, like, what a great character, like what a great like performance and arc and everything, like, holy shit,
I love I
Claude
love
Rains.
I love Claude Rains in the rally, the announcement of the selection of Jefferson Smith, when he realizes that, like, I knew your dad.
Yeah.
Oh man, such good stuff there. And he's
And
like,
then they're
wait,
riding the train and talking about old times.
yeah. And so it's like, oh shit, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a conflict down the road, because we know he's in on this deal with the dam and all that other stuff. It's like, oh boy, this is gonna come to this is obviously the main oh good lord, the main conflict. So
Yeah.
this is gonna come to a head at some point in time. But my God, yeah, Claude Rains crushes it. He's so
I just
good.
remember the first time I saw this movie, like I was like kind of like just his presence, he's got the white hair, he's
Hmm.
like this like kind of stocky little like intense guy, and his voice. Oh man. Like you could just listen to him like say anything, like, and it sounds good, He could be like blowing raspberries on his elbow, and it'll sound amazing. Like he just has this like commanding presence that you would expect and want from an actor.
This natural pain for me is the most subtle the most subtle character in this film. And you said that there's a point you think this guy is a shit, but I never felt that way in this film. From the beginning, for me, is fundamentally good. And I love the conversation they have in the train, because you understand that this guy was an idealistic like Smith at the beginning, and it's by pragmatism that he changed his way of doing politics. I mean, he felt that it was being realistic to change that way. And when you think about it, the corruption he's doing is not by greed, is just because for him it's the way it works in this world, and because he wants to be reelected. That's simple as that. I think he has, as I said, fundamentally something good in him. He really wants to do good for his country, like Jeff is trying to do. So that's why he has so much empathy for this young guy that reminds him of what he was at the beginning. And that's why he is crashing down at the end, because it's clear in his mind that he's destroying the young guy that he was and the guy he could have been. So I hope I'm clear in what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And I really don't like, and I'm sure you're gonna disagree with what I'm about to say, but I didn't like the moment he crashed down because I wanted something more dramatic. When you hear the gunshots, I thought he was killing himself. So I was a
Yeah.
bit disappointed that he didn't, because I think it would have been so dramatic, and yeah, I don't know, you would have kind of a pity for him. I don't know. I think it would have been more, and maybe like a romanticized ending to see that this guy killed himself because he betrayed himself, So
Right, but then he wouldn't have come clean about everything, if he
yeah, but
had
with a note,
succeeded.
he left a note. And
And it's bloodthirsty. That's it.
Well, I also think that's a sign of the times, I
Mm.
feel like if this movie was made like 20 or 30 years later,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it probably would have went down that way. But I personally feel like him coming clean at the end and eating crow is a little bit more satisfactory than just checking out.
Yeah,
Because now he has to live the whole rest of his life
yeah,
with
with the
that,
note. Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
with not only with the guilt, but with the like his career's over. He's done. All of his hopes, all of his like he effectively did kill himself, he just didn't
In your
do it.
country, I feel that it's never the end. Even if you did something terrible, if you say, I apologize, blah, 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 people can give
Ah.
you a second chance. And that's a good thing. I mean, depends on the people, but that's another topic. But I mean, that's a good thing that you're giving another chance.
Mhm.
That's something you should be proud of. Yeah.
Well, I like the performance by Harry Carey as the as the
The
what's the
Speaker
name?
of the House.
Yes, thank you, the Speaker of the House. But just his subtleties and the things he doesn't say, and the way he finds Jeff amusing in a positive way. And I
Mhm.
I feel like out of everybody in that room, he's probably given Jeff the fairest shot, to be heard.
Yeah.
Because when you see this, when you've seen enough of these types of movies where the deck is stacked against one character, usually everyone in the room is out to get him, except for someone
Yeah.
who's like on his side that's not part of that system. But here you have someone who's at the top, and he's like, no, he's got to be heard. He's got to, he can't yield and all this other stuff. And just, the mannerism, he covers his face. He's trying to show his joy and that someone's finally sticking it to these guys.
Yeah.
Because at some point in time, I'm sure everybody's hands are tied with
Mhm.
certain things like this. And he's probably like, well, finally somebody came in here and is doing the right thing. And I just got a kick out of that performance. I thought it was really fun. And also a tension breaker, because some of these moments get pretty tense, and it's like
Yeah.
he's just sitting there enjoying it, and it's like, it's good to see.
It's so subtle, like what he's doing, but what he's also like bringing to the story and bringing to the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much, that
Yeah,
aspect.
And
without saying much, when you think about it, he doesn't have many lines, but maybe it's what I said with the black and white. You have attention to him because his smile, the way he looks at Sanders, the way he looks at Jeff, you understand what he thinks about them. So it
mhm.
means a lot, yeah.
Well, and he and Claude Rains, speaking of both of them together, were nominated for Best Supporting Actor
Mhm.
for this film. I think that's the only time Harry Carey was nominated. Um, but they both lost, as I mentioned, to Thomas Mitchell for a totally different movie, of which he had done like 5 that year. But Thomas Mitchell, he's another one in this film. There's just like I love I love him so much in this movie as Diz, the reporter. He's great in just about everything you see because he's just one of those rock solid character actors. But in this movie in particular, I love his relationship and chemistry with Saunders.
Hmm.
I love when he's like, that's the man I'm gonna marry, and he's like, that's me. Like just this like kind of bumbling, fumbling, like drunk reporter with like a heart of gold.
I think one of the things I love about this movie is that I said before, when you see Mr. Smith get to Washington, that infectious optimism. And it doesn't just affect the audience; it affects Saunders. When you meet her, she's kind of long in the tooth with this stuff, and she's a bit jaded about the whole process, and she's kind of
Oh
checked out,
yeah.
and she's ready to go. Like she could quit at any moment, and she wouldn't care.
Yeah.
She means, oh, here's another little, doe-eyed puppet to come in and just do their bidding and whatever. But then, like, when she sees it, like, oh, he actually means
Yeah,
the
he
stuff that
believes
he's
that.
saying. He believes it, and you see the change in her eyes, and they get nice close-ups of her face, and you see the change in her eyes. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And maybe Anne's right. Maybe the black and white lends itself to that. That it makes that really pop on the screen. But she's fantastic in this, and you see he makes her a believer again. So it's infectious to her, to Saunders, and then even eventually to Claude Rains. He gets to Claude Rains. He just this guy just unyielding is not just him on the floor. It's just his willpower is unyielding.
Those, well, the lost causes,
Hmm.
they're the only ones worth fighting for. And it's like that's a really just powerful. It's so simple, but it's
Hmm.
so powerful, and again, yeah, it's that idea that's behind the whole movie. Like this is a lost cause, but he's not gonna stop fighting for it because those are the only ones worth fighting for.
And I got nervous when he passes. I was like, He "Oh no! Oh no! He's on the ground. Get him the fuck up. You got a weekend at Bernie's him. Get him up. Get him up," and then all of a sudden we hear shots in the hallway. It's, "Oh, something's going down." I've said I've seen some crap recently, It's nice to see a movie that pulls you in and makes you care. And
Hmm.
it's like, "Oh, this is how movies are supposed to be, right? Remember this?
Right.
Remember this feeling, guys? This is what we
Uh, uh,
we should get back to instead of these $500 million, duds. Get back to the story."
and yeah, I would be curious to have your opinion on James Steve on James Stewart's performance, especially when his voice is breaking down. I was really surprised because it doesn't look fake. I mean, I don't know how he succeed to do that. Is there a trick or something to do to have such voice changing like that? I mean, I was really impressed. But
Well, I think it depends on the actor. I think if you get somebody
yeah,
like Dustin Hoffman, he'll just talk 24 hours straight, and then
yeah.
like self-inflict the wound. But you can pull stuff down, and it's almost
Mhm.
like when you're losing your voice and you try to whisper because you think you're saving your voice, when it really doesn't
Mhm.
save your voice. But that trick can also help you. I'm trying to
Mhm.
get these lines. Every once in a while, you pop a word where it sounds kind of normal, and then you pull it back a little bit. So,
Mhm.
but I'm curious to know how many takes he did with all that stuff. Or, just
Yeah.
reading stuff out of books and what he really did there.
He did take an approach to wear out his vocal cords. I believe he did do some vocal straining and stressing on his way, but I think he like maybe took like baking soda or something. Like he just like to
Mhm.
dry out his throat a little bit.
That will do
Yeah,
it.
if you look it up online, you can find out what he did, and I believe it's I have Frank Capra's autobiography right here, and I've read the entire thing, and I'm pretty sure it's in there as well. But I just don't remember like exactly what he did, but he did do some some preparation and treatment to his esophagus for that particular sequence.
Yeah, I had that happen to me by accident. I got powder in my throat during a live performance, and I couldn't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrifying.
Mm.
I've had to close this book, this old dusty book, and the prop person put way too much baby powder. So when I close it, they wanted to puff of smoke, but it went right into my throat. I was like, "Ugh," and I couldn't say.
Uh,
My
I had
God.
a lot of lines. I was starting to sweat. It was. So
Oh.
that stuff, powder on the back of the throat, definitely will take your voice away.
Mm.
yeah.
I was really impressed with the knowledge that the children have around the table. In the beginning, I'm like, I wouldn't even know some of this stuff, and I was like, "Look, we got kids today worrying about TikTok." Meanwhile, these guys are like, "Hey, Dad, you don't want to look like a
they're
fool. How
yeah,
about
they're
this
really up
guy?"
on current events in that house.
Yeah.
Man, Dad couldn't even get a meal down. He
Mm,
just got bombarded. But I just found those kids to be really funny. And then
mhm.
when the
And great
one
actors.
yeah, when the one son is trying to present the briefcase and he's saying everything wrong, and the brother's like behind the flag,
Mhm.
like, "No, it's this." It reminded me of Luca Brasi from Godfather when
Uh,
he's trying to talk to Marlon Brando. He just keeps saying everything wrong. It
Yeah.
reminded me that it just means so much to him that he keeps stumbling over his words. It was very it was adorable.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, like you watch this movie, and you both have already seen "It's a Wonderful Life," which to me it's like 1A and 1B in Frank Capra's filmography. I mean, it's really these are like my top two, of course, and "It's a Wonderful Life" really it can't be touched, but the thing that comes closest to touching it is this film, and there are so many parallels between them, between not only just the casting, um, but just that like that morality, that optimism, those like inherent characteristics and traits, and then just the degree and caliber of the villain and what they're doing and their approach to their protagonist and antagonist relationship. It's like, they're definitely not the same movie, but they evoke similar feelings and they have a similar resonation with you. Like I can't imagine somebody. I mean, I can. Unfortunately, I can imagine somebody watching this movie and just being, it's all right, eh, But I like to believe that people are going to watch this movie and like, now I understand. Now I see the light.
Hmm.
Like, and I feel like Frank Capra, he's just one of those magical filmmakers who had something in him that he was able to put on the screen for all to be affected by.
When you see someone doing something to someone else, and we know it's inherently wrong, like this is unquestionably, without a doubt, this is wrong. I think it evokes a different emotion from us, and there's a bit of a purity to that. Where now it's like, we watch Dexter, and like, we like Dexter, and we kind of forgive some of the things he might do or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, I could see that, and so yeah, so the anti-hero has ushered in this whole era of ambiguity and more of a gray space, where I think with these old time films, when you see something that's just inherently wrong, it just invokes a different emotion from you.
And the way we see morality also, because I hope you won't take it badly what I'm about to say, but it's a moralistic filmmaker. It's always you have a moral message to deliver in all of his movies, I guess, because actually I just watched two movies from him, so maybe it's not always the case. But in the morality, the way we see it nowadays is different than in 1939. Definitely, we admired pure morality at that time, and nowadays we like to put kind of a nuance to excuse some attitudes, like what you said about Dexter. Some people think it's more what he does because he's killing only bad guys, but it's still killing anyway. So I mean, you know what I'm saying. So that's
Yeah.
interesting to see the evolution of the mentality, evolution in a good or bad way. It depends on you, but yeah.
Right, but it's also interesting because you guys have both just seen this movie for the first time and you're having the experience as I believe intended, and you're not like jaded by your position in history. You're able to watch this movie from 1939 and identify with it and feel something from it and connect with it. So I don't know if it's so much a matter of like the audience's point of view, because as we both, Steve and I just said, like, it should be required viewing, like people should have to watch this movie, um if only to awaken that sense or those senses within oneself. um but yeah, because you guys watched a lot of contemporary stuff, as have I, and I mean, the anti-hero thing, it goes back even further. I mean, it's been like, since like the 70s, maybe even the 60s, we've been really rocking the anti-hero train. It's just it's a cool train. It's a good one. It's
Yeah, well,
fun,
hey, listen, Travis,
but
who doesn't
y-
love Travis Bickle and all that stuff,
yeah, you think like, all right, well, yeah, like who's the 21st century equivalent to Jefferson Smith?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Are we talking?
Hmm.
Are we talking fictional character or real life human being?
Well, it could go either way, but since we're talking about films, let's keep it fictional.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. You know,
You
I
know,
think
when was the last time you saw a movie that made you kind of feel like this, like a contemporary movie,
hmm,
where it was like, yeah.
I think I've only seen it once, so the details become vague. But I think The Post with Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, a Spielberg movie. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of in the same wheelhouse. But I think
Yeah. And so yeah, where do you think that influence is coming from?
right, exactly. Well, no, yeah, of course, and I think you're right about the '70s and possibly some of the '60s with certain things. But I think because we are the generation that we are, we witnessed the shift.
I have a stupid question, maybe, but you both know Washington, right? You went to Washington, both of you,
I've been.
Yes, I've been to Washington D.C.
because that's something I really liked in this film. So I went several times to Washington D.C. and I felt the same thing as Smith. The first time you go there, you feel like kind of overwhelmed by the massive buildings, and you have this. I love the Lincoln Museum, and monument. I don't know how you call it.
Memorial.
Memorial. Sorry, I really love this place too. Every time I go to Washington, I go there, which is curious because it's not my constitution, is not my country, but you feel something there. And patriotism, even even if it's not your country, you think about your country then, and yeah, you really feel something. And I like the fact that this tall guy, because he looks kind of tall at the beginning of the film, when he goes to Washington, he looks so small. He kind of is lost in the architecture in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel that he's gonna be how to say that the domination, the power is not just political; it's also the space you occupy in a way. I think you understand that when you watch him in Washington for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, because Jefferson Smith doesn't take this newly appointed position lightly. I mean, what he says in his, I guess if you want to call it the acceptance speech at that rally in the beginning, he says, I'll promise you this, I will do nothing to disgrace this office.
Yeah.
And he says that, and, and then he says, I don't know why you need me. You're such a fine man,
Mm-hmm.
and my co-senator. And it's like, well, there's a little foreshadowing for you, but like, it's not lost on him how grand this honor is, and to be, you know, hoisted into history. Like he's a part of U.S. history now, and so for someone who's such a law-abiding, good person, and he's made that promise, and especially made the promise in front of the kids, which is, he's all about the kids. He takes it so seriously. So when he gets there, it's like, yes, the architecture is grand and it's beautiful and it's kind of overwhelming at times, but then he also realizes, "Ooh, I represent this now. I've got to, even when he says, I got to go up to Mount Vernon, I got to get in the right headspace. I got to go see, so he's going method, in the political sphere, and he's really diving in. Like, I got to be so in the mood. And so, but that just shows you how the importance and the gravity of the situation is not lost on him. And that's why, another reason why, as I think as viewers, we side with him, and we, I mean, aside from the fact that it's Jimmy Stewart and he's fucking charming, but like, we just gravitate towards someone like that, someone who's inherently good.
And I think it's really actual. Is still the same feeling we can have nowadays with our politicians. Is the fact that he sees the responsibility in the position he has, um, and the others probably they see the privilege they can have with their positions. And I
Mm-hmm.
really feel that way about politicians nowadays. They forget that the people voted for them to change their life. It's more that they feel that when they're elected, their life has changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
changing people's life. Anyway, but about the Senate also, the place, because that's something I really liked about this film is the fact that the settings mean something. They deliver a message. And in the Senate, I don't know if you felt that way watching this film. And I love the moment he whistle, and he says, "I just wanted to check you still have faces," because it's really that. It's this guy is giving his life for his message, and those guys are just seated and they don't care. And also you have the fact that he's speaking, he's using his voice, and you have this heavy silence that answers him. And you see this confrontation in every Senate scene. I don't know if you agree on that, but it struck me when I watch it.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And then he's got Saunders up there coaching him from the from the third baseline, and
Yeah, so cute.
also, I mean, that's also, I think, a bit of a commentary. Look how good Saunders is, right? But women couldn't be on the Senate at that point in time, so that's another thing to think about, So here's someone who knows her stuff, but she's on the side.
Knows it better than most of the men sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those guys have become, like Ken said, they've become complacent. It's like, well, this is my position. I've earned this position. But you forget that you work for the people.
Yeah. I love when she's holding up the book and like giving him like, the numbers to like,
Yeah.
ask him,
Yeah.
and it's like just the fact that how well she knows it, how well she comes across with that information, with that coaching, with that help, even in writing the bill. He's like, oh no, we're gonna do it all in one night. She's like, okay. Like, just the whole approach and dynamic to them and their relationship. And then I love when she finally has enough, she gets fed up and she leaves. Like when they basically, the day he's not allowed to be there, so they get Payne's daughter to take Smith out,
Mm-hmm.
and Saunders helps him get ready, and then she's like so disappointed in herself, and then she goes and has that like dismal, no pun intended, dinner with Diz. And she just walks out on Smith there. But then when she comes back, and like, of course it's got to happen at the Lincoln Memorial. Like, where
Yeah.
else are they gonna like reconcile and like tie this back together, and like get the power play going? Like, yeah, Lincoln Memorial, brilliant.
Well, I was just thinking about that too. The cinematography on that, when he first goes to the Lincoln Memorial, everything's very bright and vibrant, and and then at the end,
It's a bright sunny day,
everything's
and then
dark
it's a dark night,
it's gloomier and just heavy shadows and
fog.
Yeah, it's dripping with atmosphere, but it's very nice. And to talk about something you had mentioned in the video, how people call Frank Capra stuff, Capricorn and all that stuff, and in my opinion, I think we need a little bit more of that at times. Every once in a while, a little bit of that saccharine sweet doesn't hurt anybody. And I think the viewers who consume, whether it be TV, movies, what have you, we'd be better off every once in a while just having a little shot of that. Not every day, not all the time, but a little bit here and there.
Well, that ties back to like who's the contemporary Jefferson Smith, because we are just so beaten down and cynical, and it's easy to be cynical. It's hard to be Jefferson Smith and to be him as well as he is, where he is believable and he is, affecting you. You want to talk about Capricorn. I mean, that was the criticism of the day, and some people who just watch a movie superficially, sure, they'll lock into that and be like, oh well, yeah, of course it's gonna have a happy ending and blah 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 blah. But like, did you not fucking like see the road the character went down to get to that ending? Do you not see like the trials and tribulations and the hurdles and everything that they had to overcome? I mean, it's your basic like conflicting challenge of a story.
I agree. I think some people are also a little bit ashamed to admit that they like a happy ending at times, and at times it's appropriate, and sometimes it's not appropriate. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I think if we had a little bit more of that, people might be happier.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have been happier to see Senator Payne blow his brains out. But
That's what I was thinking about.
No, he's got to get his comeuppance. He's got to face the music.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to live with that shit.
Mm-hmm. To see how far he's fallen.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys, man, they slap that kid, give the kid the whole hand. I mean, launch that kid
Yeah.
across the room and running over the little wagons and all this stuff. Like,
Yeah,
you have
man,
a
that's what I'm
fire
saying.
hose.
Like, he's not pulling any punches. You watch that today and your eyes kind of bulge a little bit like, he did that? Like, back then? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, you could get away with that shit then,
Yeah.
Like, today, not so much. That'll about do it for us here today at the Visually Hidden Selects podcast. We will be discussing a completely different film next time, so make sure you head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss any future selections. You can catch Stephen Bendler over at Steve's Pop Culture Corner on Instagram, and I, of course, are also on Instagram as well as Letterboxd, so you can follow us over there and find out what we've been watching and see what we think. And until next time, live like you just got out of a tunnel.